de France, members of the University Council, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce His Excellency President Barroso, who will address us today on the subject of the European Union, a committed partner for the Pacific, and in introducing him to set the scene for today's address. The University of Auckland recognises the contribution that President Barroso is making, not just to the development of the European Union, but much more widely around the world, and as a result has conferred an honorary doctorate upon him in a special ceremony earlier this morning. President Barroso is in the midst of a distinguished career. He began, as is only appropriate in the present surroundings, as an academic, and he still retains a keen interest in his field of political studies. In his native Portugal, he rose through the political ranks to become Prime Minister in 2002. In 2004, he became President of the European Commission and is now in his second term. President Barroso is holding this post in challenging times, and so we appreciate that he has taken the trouble to come so far to address us today. New Zealand has a strong relationship with Europe, historically, culturally, intellectually and economically, and this visit will be an important step in further developing the relationship. The New Zealand Government is hoping to have a comprehensive agreement with the EU, an endeavour which the University strongly supports. There is already a scientific agreement between New Zealand and the EU, which is proving beneficial. Among other things, the agreement allows the university to be a full partner in research projects funded by the EU. Indeed, the University of Auckland was the first in New Zealand to secure such a partnership through its Europe Institute. The University of Auckland has an extensive relationship with Europe. There are many bilateral and multilateral research collaborations. There are large numbers of student exchanges with universities all over Europe. We also benefit from the joint URSIS and Ministry of Science and Innovation programme for the exchange of staff with universities in Europe. Again, one of these programmes has been awarded to our Europe Institute, and that institute is a foundation member of the New Zealand-Europe Business Council. The Europe Institute reflects our deep relationship with Europe. For many years we have had researchers all over the university working both with European partners and on European issues. However, this work has been somewhat unrelated, and in 2006 a group of researchers led by Professor Chris Shaw and Dr. Maureen Benson-Ray made a proposal to bring much of it together in a Europe Institute. The university responded favourably, and it was founded with a grant from the Vice-Chancellor's Strategic Development Fund. The institute is unusual because it runs right across the disciplines, including not just traditional areas like business, law, economics and politics, but also education, history, languages, literature, engineering, and most recently medical and health sciences. It also covers the whole of Europe, and not just the EU. So in the last couple of years it has worked on Belarus, Iceland, Norway, Russia and Ukraine. The bulk of its work focuses on the EU, but to illustrate its variety, it includes an Italian film festival, conferences on Spain, and work on German history in the region. The Europe Institute's main current projects are on social welfare and education, and the director, Professor David Mays, is also the BNZ Professor of Finance. And Professor Mays will moderate a brief question and answer session after the address and will give the vote of thanks. Last year, the King and Queen of Spain came to the university and inaugurated the Prince of Asturias chair in Spanish. This year, the university has created its own chair in European Studies, and I am delighted that we have appointed Professor Courtine from the Sorbonne to fill it. Our teaching in European Studies runs from undergraduate right through to the PhD level. I'm conscious, Your Excellency, of the benefit that the University of Auckland draws from your address here today, but I should point out that the university is not by any means alone in the study of Europe in New Zealand. There is a European Union Centres network in the country linking all but one of the universities, and I understand that that university too will soon be in the partnership. This network, based at the University of Canterbury and directed by Professor Martin Holland, who was responsible for the development of the relationship with the European Commission, is funded by the EU. As President Barroso could not make the trip to other centres on this visit, I'm delighted that staff and students from the other universities have been able to join us here today to participate in these proceedings, and that the President is going to talk to them in a separate session after this address. And for those of you who could not make it here physically today, the address is being streamed live so that others can watch and listen where they are, and it will also be published in the EUCN's Europa series. The University and the EUCN have also benefited substantially from the close interest that the Charge d'Affaires in Wellington, George Cunningham, has had in the study of Europe. As he is coming to the end of his tour of duty here, I would like to take this opportunity to thank him and the European Commission for the work that he has done. However, the topic of today's address is not on the EU's relationship with New Zealand alone, but on the relationship with the Pacific as a whole. This is, of course, entirely appropriate as the Pacific Islands Forum is this year being held in Auckland, and the President is participating in it. And we held our honorary degree ceremony a few minutes ago in the Fale Pacifica to reaffirm this relationship. New Zealand may have close European connections, but it is fundamentally a Pacific country. Auckland, in particular, is on many counts the most important city in the region. As soon as you arrive at Auckland Airport, you see the importance of our Māori heritage. Auckland is also home to large populations from all the Pacific Islands, and of course many of you will see their supporters at World Cup rugby matches, and not least, I'm sure, the opening game tomorrow night between the All Blacks and Tonga. New Zealand provides extensive support for the other countries in the Pacific Islands and welcomes the role that the EU is playing and will continue to play in their future. As the President writes in his notes, we are a like-minded partner.